There we go. Okay. So it is my absolute pleasure to introduce you for the reason why we are here today, Miss Tia Forbes. She is our very own, um, one of our amazing launch members. God bless technology, I tell you. Why are you not cooperating? There we, there, okay. Goodness, Irene, come on, stop. Tia, behave. Tia Forbes, launch member extraordinaire. Tia is currently a PhD student studying learning sciences. She's learning sciences and training at DSU in the College of Education and Human Development. She's also been teaching for the past couple of semesters. She's an instructor of record and has been teaching ENI 3101, correct? 3101.
And 1010 and LT 2010.
So she has been teaching multiple classes for us, but most importantly, she is an entrepreneur and is founder of the Knack Brand LLC, which she will tell you all a little bit about. Tia has been doing this session as well as dealing with feelings for us for the past couple of semesters. These two sessions have been receiving very, very positive feedback. I'm super excited that she agrees to continue to come back and do this for us. I appreciate you, Tia. And now, without any further ado, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Tia. Thank you, Tia.
Thank you,
Give me
Erica.
one second and
All
you will
right,
be
let me
able
go
to
ahead and
share your
share.
presentation. Yep, give me one second.
No
All right,
problem.
you should be able to go ahead and share now.
Okay. Share my screen. Awesome. So, no doubt, everyone, that your comfort zones have been somewhat disrupted. What I'm hoping for today is not just knowing that your comfort zones are disrupted, but more so how you're going to make this a positive for yourself. I see that there's a number of people in. I'm going to hopefully what we'll be able to do is we'll be able to jump back and we'll be able to share and really talk and get some information so that way we can help each other. Let me start by saying welcome, welcome. And the first screen that you're seeing is basically, the title, the logo, but at the very corner to the left, you will see that my Instagram, my Twitter, my Facebook are all there. And if you need to reach me, that is the email that you would reach me at. Okay. So let me tell you a little bit. I have been in between the entertainment and the education space for the last 20 years. That says 18 because I started this about 2.5 years ago, really doing this particular presentation. I've worked at LAUSD, otherwise known as the Los Angeles Unified School District, everywhere from Watts, Inglewood, some of Malibu, Pacific Palisades, Beverly Hills. I've worked with K through 12 all over the place, as well as night school. On top of that, I've also gone from education to entertainment, working at Paramount Studios, and most recently here in Atlanta, CNN and Turner Studios, doing more so television development and on-air talent. So basically, a lot of the media training stuff that you'll see about my business, training people, that is a lot of what you will see. I have a passion for developing entrepreneurs, and I come from entrepreneurial legacy, actually. My grandmother and my great-great were all market women. They were women who raised vegetables, raised chickens, raised cows, and they would take these items to the market and sell. So this has been something that's long coming in my life. On top of that, bringing it 70 years into the future, 80 years into the future. My mom started off being an entrepreneur when I was a very young girl selling clothing. On Saturdays, she would pack me up in the car and she would go to Miami and buy all of these dresses because she knew women love to get dressed and go to the clubs. So then she would take these dresses and go all the way to the hairdresser places and sell them these dresses because they're getting ready for Saturday night. And then, of course, now bringing it now further, even to the current, here is me really still doing the entrepreneurship thing that has been, blessed to me by my ancestors who I have known throughout my life. And now, not only am I a PhD student, but, I'm also an entrepreneur because there's a thing called an academic entrepreneur, right? So let me tell you about what the NAC brand is. Okay, so I has 4 areas: emotional intelligence, accountability, media training, and lifestyle design. These are like 4 pillar areas of our spaces. Your emotional intelligence is super important because number one, this is how you think and walk and talk throughout the world. Your accountability is important not just to your professional life, but to your personal life. And of course, if you're an entrepreneur or you're someone who may be in front of a camera one day, you're going to need to know how to present yourself and what to do when somebody throws you a curveball so that you don't feel like you're completely thrown off kilter or that you've misrepresented yourself. And of course, lifestyle design is about how you live your life every day. Because just because you work a corporate space does not mean you have to live a corporate life if that is not what you choose to do. You have opportunities to make changes to your life. And this is where disrupting your comfort zone actually fits in. So I offer workshops, courses and retreats, meetups, and of course, personal improvement media. Currently, I'm working on a podcast that is soon to be launched in June, actually July. I'm really excited about that. And of course, when we finally do get to a point where it's safe that we can meet up again, I look forward to seeing you guys in courses and other things that I'll be offering. To make a long story super short, I have a knack for helping entrepreneurs. I love doing this every day. Now, the goal for today, even though I know we're online and it is recorded, but bear in mind, this will not be shared with anybody else, just me to make me a better facilitator, is confidentiality. Hopefully you can be open and responsive and know that there is growth that's going to happen for you, not just right now, but afterwards. One of the things that Erica and the Launch GSU team is going to do, they're going to share with you a PDF that we're going to utilize while we're here in this workshop. And as soon as they send that out, we can get started and start talking about it. I'm going to leave this here for a moment to see how we can get this. Please share with me. Please share with me. If you guys are getting text messages, or if you guys are getting the chat, or if you have gotten your worksheet. Have you gotten your worksheet? Let me know if you've gotten your worksheet. That's fine. Currently sending it out, so hopefully you should have it very shortly. Let's talk about what's happening right now. So what's happening right now is, I'm not going to say to you that it's strange. What I'm going to say to you more so than anything is that this is something that does happen every 100 years, but it's never happened in such a technological time. The great part about it is that, yes, you are in your homes, and yes, you are surrounded by family and probably some very interesting characters, as I am, but they're your family and you love them. But at the same time, you have this amazing tool available to you, and it's the one you're talking through right now. In fact, if I could show you, I have quite a setup here. I've got a laptop, I've got my tablet, I've got 2 phones, I've got a microphone, I've got, oh my gosh, I've got a ring light and a camera. In fact, I'll show you. See, that's my tablet and my microphone, my ring light, and all these things. And just like that, I've been able to create so much content in this space. So this is not comfortable for for me. Usually I'm not home all day. I am developing a number of these things online or at the university where I have not just tools, but access that I can get quiet. Now I've had to figure out how to do it at home. And my home is nice, but I share it with a lot of people who don't always understand what I do. And so it's, there are times where you feel like you're talking or you're doing something that's really important, but you can't get silence, you can't get quiet. And so this has disrupted my own, comfort zone of how I work. And so I've had to find new ways without completely stressing myself out to make sure that my life works, but that I design it around the situation that's happening now. All right. So Erica has put it for the worksheet. Please go ahead and download it and let me know if you're having an issue, or put it in the chat so that um, she's going to email all of you now so that you can have this. So I'll go back to my story. With that being said, I can't say to you that there haven't been challenges. Oh, there have been challenges. In fact, the space where I am now, not 5 minutes before I unmuted, I could hear, one of my family members come in, and he greets my mom very loud and gregariously, regardless of the fact that I'm having a class and everyone on every floor of the house can hear them. And then I'm sheltered in place with not just essential workers, but also a person, people of older age. So, being aware of how to deal with, having my grandma in a space where she's not used to being quiet. She's used to watching her game shows and her older shows, at the top sound levels, and people, and children who are running up and down the stairs. We chose to shelter in together, and I won't regret that, because while the house is not as quiet as I may need it to be to do the things that I want, when I think about what I want versus what I need my family around me. I want quietness so that I can do these things, but I've had to switch around my schedule a bit in order to get the things that I need done. So that's part of what disrupting comfort zone is about. It's about a situation, thinking about situations in such a way where you can't change the situation, but you can change your mind's process around the situation. So let's move forward. Let's define what a comfort zone is, right? Think about that is now when you get your worksheet, and please let me know if you got it. Just tap me like this into the chat box so that I can know that you've gotten your worksheet. I really have people are there. I know you're probably muted right now, but does anybody have the mute button off to tell me what you think a comfort zone is?
If you would like to talk, just hit the raise hand button and I'm happy to take you off of mute. Just raise your hand in the as an attendee and we can take you off mute. The old rule still applies. If you don't raise your hand, up, Fatima, awesome. Thank you, Fatima. You
Hi, Fatima.
Hi there. Okay, for me, a comfort zone is usually something that you're familiar with. It's usually some level or some area or an atmosphere of familiarity, where you know things and and may be more aware of your surroundings. So when you said disrupt, it also made me think not just doing something different and kind of going against the grain. It made me think of it in so many different aspects. I was thinking of it like technology, relationships, inventions. When I saw disrupting something that's a little bit different, but that's still useful.
Awesome. More so than invention, right? Because
Yes.
now you
Yes,
have,
I'm
because
only
now if it's a situation like you're in now, you have to figure out, you can possibly invent something that will make life easier for you. It's more gonna be, what can I use this? It's almost like being the MacGyver of your life. If do you do I hope people by that. I probably just aged myself by saying that. But MacGyver was this really cool character. There was this show, and I know that they redid it a few times, but if MacGyver was in a jam in a closed room and he had to get out because all of the water was, rising to the top, he figured out how to use the things around him to literally miracle and get out of this. Else have anything to add about what their thoughts on comfort zone? Make sure that you're writing down on your worksheet. The first page is, what is a comfort zone? Let me see if I can show this to you in a smaller stage. So the first page is, what is a comfort zone? And it says your thoughts versus actual. And we're going to talk about the actual, but I'd love for you to write down your thoughts. Anyone else have any thoughts on what a comfort zone is?
Okay, Fung, what's your thought on a comfort zone?
Hey, hello. So, my comfort zone would be something that I feel confident in doing, and then in a situation where I have control.
Yeah, it is definitely one of those things. It's doing the same thing, knowing that no matter when you do it, no matter how you do it, it's going to come out successful. Absolutely. There's no insecurity of this might happen in a wrong way. Now that I've gotten two, I'm going to put this up so that you can see it, and I'll keep it up for a little while. So it is a situation or position in which a person feels secure, comfortable, they're in control. Even if they have to MacGyver their way out, they can MacGyver their way out of this. They can, they can invent, as Fatima said, or innovate very quickly. They can manage it, they can handle it, and they know they're gonna just look cool, calm, and collected like a cucumber, and they're ready. But that's just it. Once you've mastered something, you can keep mastering it, or even enhance it. But what happened to skills now that you've mastered the skill? The natural human response is to go and explore, to go find, to go figure out, to go see. And we these things where we're mastering, we're getting out of these comfort zones, but there are several areas in our lives where we're completely in comfort zones, right? And if we stay in comfort zone in these spaces, we may not grow as people. So, comfort zones. Do you have any ideas of some of the areas in your life where you have comfort zones? Make sure to raise your hand so that the GSU team can see you.
Okay, Kiki, one moment. Okay, Kiki.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for this time on this afternoon. I would say comfort zone with my family. And when I say family, is a difference in we being away from our homes a minimum of 40 hours a week when we were working away versus when we're here 24/7 for the most part. So
Yes.
our comfort zone, but in a different light.
Okay. I agree with that. So partnerships with family members and your spouses, your friends, whoever, particularly the people you're currently sheltered in place with, absolutely. Anyone else?
Heads up, everyone. If this, obviously, we didn't communicate this in the information ahead of the schedule, but this is interactive. And unfortunately, you can't hide. If we don't raise our hands, then you may just get picked on. This requires
Let me
interaction.
pull up our participants.
The reality is, unfortunately, this workshop is not designed to be a webinar. It really is designed to be in person. However, we felt it was important that it was timely and important to offer it. So unfortunately, we need you to work with us. You may not have signed up for interactive today, but welcome. So please,
In fact, even though it's not necessarily, a work where you weren't expecting to speak, it helps you more if you can. Because when you're engaging, you're talking to people of like mind who are also looking to disrupt their comfort zones, you have an opportunity to really grow and go, oh, I'm not the only one going through that. I see Feng Tran has her hand up.
Yes. Hey, my comfort zones now, or my friends, like we video chat and text every single night. And I currently have a mentor that, I chat with her once a week about everything that's been going on. So yeah,
Yes, you're
yeah.
definitely. So there are relationships that will do that for you. Okay. Any other aspects or areas in life? I see Kiki has her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay, great. So, I guess I had mistakenly raised it, but that's fine. Could you rephrase? Could you, tell me the question again? I
Oh,
apologize.
well, I was literally, what other aspects of life, what other areas in life do you think you have comfort zones other than your personal, because we heard personal relationships, personal professional relationships.
Correct. I would say my comfort zone also would be my interpersonal, I guess, relationship on a spiritual basis, my relationship with God. And that's something I've definitely been working on even more during this time. So I would say my interpersonal relationship with myself.
Okay. And the thing, trying to reestablish your goals and how you live your life is really a thing. So let's
Absolutely.
go through the actual. No problem. Let's go through the ones that we have that I have listed for you. So we have accountability. Believe it or not, you can get real comfortable when it comes to accountability. Something that is expected of you, maybe in your personal life, maybe in your professional life. How you show up in the space is really important. Oh, this is frozen. Hello? I
see you. I see
You
you
can
and
hear
hear
me.
you, but it's not, but
Oh,
the PowerPoint doesn't seem to be moving.
oh, got it. So I'll talk about them, and you can write them down, particularly as I talk about them, because that's how well I know them. What I would say is accountability. How you show intelligence. How you respond when you're talking to someone, when you're speaking with someone, when you're having conversations. Clapbacks. I tell people all the time, be careful of claps, because when you're clapbacks, you know, something immediately kind of coming out of your mouth to kind of switch someone who's doing something that you don't feel is appropriate, that's a real thing. It can become a problem. Your third one would be your goals. Kiki talked about this. Her personal relationships, her interpersonal relationship with herself, and how you say more so how decide what you're going to do. Like maybe you said to yourself that your goal for yourself is going to be, I'm going to learn a mountain climb. And then you literally talk yourself out of it because you're like, why? You know, it's a goal and everything, but still. I would say your fourth one is your lifestyle design. A lot of people look at their lives right now and they say things like, this is not the life, or I really want to be an entrepreneur, or I really want to move up in my career, but they're not quite sure how it works, right? They're not quite sure what to do. They're not confident in how to make these things work, right? Oh, there I go. Accountability, emotional intelligence goals. Hey, I told you I knew this thing back at like the back of my hand. And then, of course, personal development. People think about, okay, there's the weight loss portion, which is a very simple comfort zone, well, actually not a simple comfort zone. It can be a very complex comfort zone, but there are other places. Maybe it's you wanted to learn a new skill. You wanted to learn a language. You wanted to spend more time with yourself. You wanted to develop a better level of awareness. So we get real comfortable in those spaces. Of course, relationships. We get very comfortable in our relationships, and how we respond to our partners, how we respond to our friends, how we relate to them, how we talk to them. This is really, so it can get hard to understand why relationships then seem to end, because we've gotten very comfortable with either not responding or responding a specific way when we're triggered by certain emotions and thought processes. And the final one is work. So, how we get into a comfort zone at work. Like you said, you're there 40 hours a day, 40 hours a week, 40 hours a day. That was funny. You're there 40 hours a week. And part of that is you're used to the people. You're used to your desk. You're used to your office. You're used to getting up at 12 or 1 o'clock, going to lunch to the same place, or bringing your lunch with you, or talking to your boss a certain way, or having very specific conversations about how you get promoted, or talking to your professors, or not talking to your professors, because that is a work environment as well. So you get real comfortable in these. I'm going to take a minute and leave this up for you a little bit so that you can write them into your worksheet where it says your comfort zones. I have a circle in the middle that looks very much like the circle right here with the most impacted areas of your life. Now, here's the most important part about this. When you get on these spaces and you eventually start to reflect on your life, some people tend to get really uncomfortable and kind of sad because they're like, I've reached this point and I haven't accomplished certain things, and I'm not sure what I can do. And really, what it comes down to is it's time to get on. We're going to move into one of these areas. You get to zone. Accountability. So everyone knows that when you're accountable to someone, I love this picture of teamwork of these two women who are working out, because it's like, I'm there, I'm present, and I'm ready to serve you as you are to serve me, because accountability is a mutually beneficial relationship. So accountability, you have to think how you view accountability. You are accountable to, and when you are accountable to them. If you move down into your second worksheet, you will see that I have each one of the areas here, and then you can take notes on that. So for your first one, it's how you view accountability. Do you view it as something that is changing and evolving, or do you look at it as it's like a paper contract, and what that contract says is, I you do this for me, and that is it. That is the level of accountability. So you may want to think about accountability as such that it is evolving, particularly in a situation like now where you're home with all your family members. Maybe you've taken on more responsibilities because everybody's in place. So maybe now you're doing extra day of cooking, or an extra day of cleaning, or several extra days of cooking and cleaning in some cases. And so that is all part of That is all part of how you are managing your accountability and who you're accountable to in those spaces. Maybe it's mom or dad or husband or wife, children. You know, how you provide in that space, how you respond in that space when you are accountable to them. A lot of ways, think about that. I want to make sure that I'm still here. Tap me, let me know you're still here, guys. Let me know you here
Yeah,
because
I'm
I can
still
talk
here.
about this forever.
I'm here.
Okay,
I'm here.
I could talk about this forever. I'm passionate about this. So, and of course, when you're accountable to someone, chances are in your life, particularly now, you're almost accountable to somebody. Well, you are in general accountable to someone every hour of your life, even if that's just you, right? So you have to, and when I say just you, I mean just solo you, because and you are one of the most important people to be accountable to, because if you're not accountable to yourself, you can't be accountable to anyone else. Okay? Let's move on to emotional intelligence. I I started my company because of emotional intelligence. This is why. I am a people sit in a park, sit in a mall, and literally just watch people go by. And the reason why is because it's all relational. We are relating to people. So here's how. You are relating to person, how you relate to them and why you relate to them is usually because there's some sort of trigger, some sort of emotion, something that's connected to the reason why you are either looking at that person or speaking to this person or connected to them personally or professionally. So you have to think about how you relate to people and why you do, because sometimes what ends up happening is you end up responding to them very differently. Okay, because if a husband or a wife or a partner or significant other, you're looking at how you relate to them, but also you have to think about how you respond to them, because what if you're so used to snapping at them? You know, many times snapped at children, snapped at your brothers and sisters, snap at parents. And so you have to think about that and go, why? You have to really stop and think, why am I doing that? Perhaps a better way. So we can have this conversation of, hey, when you say this thing, this really bothers me. And let's practice talking to each other better, because be in this situation, the shelter in place, or be together in a relationship, or have a good relationship with each other, we gotta know how to talk to each other in such a way that we're actually getting some sort of communication across. So we have to think about how we relate to people and why we relate to them, and then how we respond to them and why we respond. Does anybody have a question so far? Because before I go on, so now we're going on the goals. This is the interpersonal stuff that Kiki was talking about. Your interpersonal, and the reason why you feel comfortable on our goals, we may have graduated for college, we may have Everest, we may have done all of these things, but one of the things that's so amazing about the human spirit is that it's kind of always asking what next. So you want to think about what you want to accomplish, or what you're in the process of accomplishing now. That will keep you in a level of awareness about where you are in this comfort zone. If you're in the path of getting something, but you've either lagged behind or it's been paused for reasons that were out of your control, now you have to think about, okay, so what's it going to take in order to get back to this space, right? But then how do you view the comfort zone of your goals? I can tell a personal story on that. I remember my personal goal was I just want to graduate college. And for a time, a first generation graduate, yeah, that was a major one. But then I graduated college and all I wanted to do was sleep. I just wanted to take a nap because honestly, God, I felt like I needed to sleep for the last 4 years that I didn't catch any sleep for. And I was tired, I was exhausted. But then what I realized is that I had been doing this goal for so long, I didn't focus anywhere on the future. I didn't make any plans after graduation. And it was just like when people would ask me what you're going to do, I would say, I guess I'll get a job. But I got a job, I was bored. And I realized that had I made something to like literally put something in place, like write it and speak it into existence. I don't just want a job. I want a career that makes me happy. I want I want a career that allows me to travel, go here, meet people, figure out who I am. And and once I got to that first job and I realized that that wasn't for me, I started writing those goals down so that way, when I actually started looking for jobs or looking for opportunities, I actually already had a list of things that I wanted to do. And then I started to view things differently, even job opportunities, because I would look at that and I said, that's a desk job, that's not for me. Or even when I got to the interview and they told me what it was, I now had this opportunity. I don't know what's going on here. Okay. I now had this opportunity to get this done, to figure out what else I wanted. And then I also had to look about, and that goals, just so you know, I had to think about why. Like, why are my goals the way they are? Sometimes look at the fact that some of the things that you do are general. Okay. So think about why you're doing something. Maybe you're doing something because people always did it. You know, they always did it. So, they always lived in the South. And even though I want to live in the South of France, I'm going to live in the South. Or, no one ever leaves home. So what's the point of leaving home? Because I would be leaving everything I know behind. What's going to disrupt your comfort zone so that you can change your life to the life that you're actually wanting to lead? Okay. So, does anybody have any questions about goals right now? I know that just failed on you, but don't worry. I know this presentation so well, I can keep talking. Anybody have any questions?
I don't see any, ma'am.
Okay. So, the next one. Well, this one. I love talking about lifestyle design. In fact, when I get entrepreneurs who come to me, one of the first things I talk about is, tell me about your life. Tell me what you do during the week. Here is why. When I hear things like, I get up, I go to work, I feed my children, I kiss my significant other bye, or I just wave bye, and I go to work, and then I work. I get off work, I come home because I'm tired, and the weekend comes, we may go out, and then I start it all over again. At that point, existing. Now, Rona, yes, that's all you really can do, but it will not be like this forever. So how do you design your life? You have to think about how you lived prior to extreme situations. Maybe it's more of, actually, I want to live where I wake up in the morning, I make an extra 30 minutes to just either meditate or read, or just that silent time to myself before the kids come in, or before my spouse wakes up, or before any of these things, right? When I go to work, what can change about that? In fact, I have a really interesting story about this as well, but I'll tell you at the end. The other portion of this is why you live the way you. A lot of times we live the way we do because of routines. Look at your family members. Look at the seniors in your family. Did they do the same things? Did they, get up at a certain time, take care of the family, and move on to the next one? And you always said, well, grandma was amazing. Yes, she was a foundation, and you can still be foundational, but what are the things that you're trying to change about the way that you live. And this is so important to, what you're showing the next generation, or not just, but people who admire you, people who you're mentoring, people who see you without you even realizing that they're watching. And which brings me to what makes change happen. So change happen is awareness. You being aware that the lifestyle that you have right now is not the one that you want. This time of coronavirus, when the world opens back up again, you have a real opportunity to make some changes. But you do have to plot and plan your next steps. My story for this is my own personal one, my mom. My mother is a nurse. And growing up, that's all I knew. In fact, when I was in elementary school, middle school, she was becoming an RN. Study with her so much that when I took my aptitude tests in school, I tested high on anatomy, physiology, chemistry, physics, because my mother was such a science person. And she worked almost every day. Well, when I was a child, she worked 7 to 3. And then, of course, as I got older, she changed her hours. By the time I was in college, she was now an RN, and she realized that she's tired, she's exhausted, she's working 6, 7 days, and she just got tired. And I remember saying, well, Mom, is there any other opportunities, or can you change that? Is there anything that they would do? And she was like, I don't know. And so she went to her boss and she said, I don't want to work 5 days a week every day. I'm exhausted. I can't get medical appointments done or anything. And in not wanting to be an employee, they said, you know what? Instead of working 5 days, you can work 4 days. It would add 2 extra hours to your day. And she says, you know what? I'd rather do that. I'd rather work Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and have the middle of my week, my Wednesday off. And she was my first lesson of, wow, sometimes all you have to do is ask, put it out there in the universe, make a suggestion, and put these things in order so that you can change your life to the way you wanted to. And today, my mom only really works 4 days a week because she wants her Wednesday off. Well, now it's Monday through Thursday. She takes Fridays off because her and her hubby go off and gallivant the world and do amazing things together. And because of that, it's made their relationship better because they share more time together during the weekend. So it's something to think about. Does anybody have anything to say about lifestyle design or their current lifestyle designs? I'm gonna have to find this participant because I can't see nobody. Hold on.
Yeah, there are no hands up, Tia.
There are no hands up. Hold on. I
No,
want to see. I want
ma'am.
to see. I want to see these people. I see Thong. I see Trent. I see Kiki, Anissa, Billy, Prey. I see two Billies. Billy, you on here twice? I see Fatima, and I see. I said that says. I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna say this wrong. Chim. Oh, I see Prey and Kiki. They both have their hands up now. Oh, hello.
Let's see. Pray, go ahead and unmute yourself. And your presentation went away again.
I I took it off because I didn't see anybody, and I was like,
Okay. Pray, oh, okay. Hold on.
Okay.
I have to unmute Pray. Oh my goodness. Come on, computer.
I'm gonna have to excuse the technology if they don't want to behave with you.
No. Okay, go ahead, Pray.
First of all, hello, good afternoon to everyone. Of course, I always enjoy Tia's workshops. Do you mind pulling back up the slide, the
Sure.
so I can try to hit like every point?
You see it?
Yes, okay, yes. So currently, How I live, why I live the way, what makes change happen. Okay, so I don't know if this really would answer it, but like as far as lifestyle design at the moment, so like I still live at home or whatever, and of course long term I don't see that happening. Um, Probably shorter term now just because of everything that's going on. So I think that's definitely had an influence on like how I feel about living at home as an adult, even though I'm only 22, so not really a real adult, but like you get the point. Um why I live. So, okay, what I noticed is that ever since maybe 11th grade, I've always had a job. And I never really like took a break for myself. So there was one point, like maybe a semester, that I didn't have a job and I was just so miserable. I was like, oh my gosh, I just cannot do this. And so that also made me realize that like I never really took time for myself. So, like between school and working, that's something I've always been doing. I'll probably like, take a break from that eventually, hopefully like by the time I graduate, and just really take some time for myself. I like the fact that you said your mom realized like she was working herself so much and then she finally decided to, slow down and spend more time with the people that she, feels closest to. So I really like that. That's definitely encouraging and inspiring my feeling to really just take a break. I really do want to travel after I graduate. So I'm looking more forward to that now.
But but remember in the what makes change happen. So what makes change
What makes
happen for
change happen,
you
of course.
because you
Um,
have to plan that.
yeah, and I was about to say like my mindset and everything. Just the that's really it, my mindset. Cause sometimes, especially like now, working from home and school from home, basically living at home, um, it can get to be a lot and it can be really well, I'm not gonna say depressing, but like it can be depressing, like really sad. And
Yes.
I'm sorry, my allergies, so just forgive
Okay.
me. But so yeah, so definitely changing your mindset or my mindset rather. And like getting out more, like even though we can't go anywhere, just taking walks and stuff for the time being, of course.
Right. Take a walk, clear your mind, breathe it out. But also, here's the thing I really stress about what's happening,
Hmm.
particularly with this with this shelter in place, people. You're probably finding that you're sleeping a lot more if you can. You're probably finding that you're eating a lot more. You're probably finding that you're restless. You're finding that you feel kind of constricted or like you can't, like you're caught in a tight place. Remember that this is trauma. It is trauma to the body. Most people describe and explain trauma as you've been in an accident and now you're hurt and all of these things. This is still very traumatic. And so even though yes, you're alive, this is a change to the body. It's not something that you asked for. It's not something that you were even remotely prepared for. So know that, your body is going through this stress and trying to figure out getting back into its own comfort zone because this is a traumatic experience. So make yourself feel bad for how you are responding in this outbreak.
Yeah, I guess that's been another thing I've been working on lately. So just kind of like actively making and taking more time for myself. So like when I'm not, doing whatever it is that I have to do, for like school and work and stuff, I'll like, okay, phone is on do not disturb. Like the door of my room is locked. No one can come in, no one can come out. So yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Because you need that time to just kind of deconstruct and kind of just decompress, need that
Yeah,
silence.
absolutely.
Keep Are you still there? I saw your hand up.
I am. I am here. I guess as you were, stating earlier, the ability to no longer sit in an hour to an hour, have traffic both ways. I'm utilizing that time a lot more at this time, and working most importantly that when we do get back to the quote normal or new normal, that I will still have those things in place and will be successful at keeping those new strategies.
Okay. And have you thought about some of the strategies? Because, like, for example, you that work that hour and a half, you know, traffic. How are you going to thwart that when things get back to a new normal?
Bit strategic, because development is all over. So I've spoken with my director to see if I can adjust my hours, which would be perfect. So I'm going to be doing that. But most importantly, getting up in the morning, having my tea, and just meditating, prayer, having that extra time. I would then do that at work because I would have less of a commute time, so I can get there early. Get that in to start my day
Have you found
versus
that you
feeling so
found
rushed.
okay? Have you found that you found some being able to do that even though this all of this is happening?
Oh, absolutely. For certain, during these times, we got to make the best of it. And my overall goal is to become, a better person, to be a better person when we're out again. And when I say out again, when I make that conscious decision of what works best for me. So
Yes.
I think the practices that I do have in place is very critical, and not only just for now that we're sheltered in or what have you, but also making sure that it's flexible, um, so I can still continue those things and get better at it. So that's just a small one, just the start of my day that I've seen been impacted positively, and I want to keep that up.
And I love that you said that. And this is for everyone. What lifestyle design comes down to is what works best for you. Not necessarily the routine that everybody is expecting you to follow, but what works best for you in the environment that you are in that is mutually beneficial. You know, everybody won't be able to change their hours. Everybody won't be able to necessarily do those things, but what kind of things can you work towards or can you put in place so that you can change, things so that you can design the life that you want? Erica or anyone, are you seeing any other hands? Because I don't want to miss anyone.
No, I'm not.
I'm gonna keep going. Okay, next comment. And first, you may imagine that this is a one for me. It is personal development, and personal development can take so many different realms. It can, be, reading personal improvement books. It can be, having a goal towards, emotional intelligence or developing, patience or reading Sun Tzu's, Art of War. I've seen that personally for a lot of people for personal development. And I guess more so than anything is, for me, it comes down to awareness. And here's what I mean. It's about who you are right now. Not who you want to be, not who you think you are, who you actually are right now. I think that is the start goal, the starting line of any personal development. Then you can move on to who you want to be. Because now I know who I am. I know that I'm this person, things, but I know I want this, this, and this. I want to learn a language. I want to live in Italy. I want to live in Italy right now, but don't worry, people will want to live in Italy again. It's a beautiful country. I want to, travel at least twice a year, whatever those personal development opportunities are. But not only do you have to know who you are and who you want to be, you actually have to know as well why you want to improve. There has to be a reason. It can't be, well, because that's the thing to do. I talked about the human spirit wanting the what next. What next? That what nextness can also be an addiction. of I'm not doing anything right now. The other thing I need to add on my list, I love the term be here now. Three of the most present words I've ever heard. Be here now. Who you are right now. Who you want to be and why you want to improve. It has to be, it can, and you can have reasons like for myself, or I want to improve for my family, or I need peace. You have to know these things because when you have an idea of why you're moving into personal development, that is part of your growth factor, part of your actualization. It's like, oh, I've now become the person I want to be. And the reason why, even if it's expanded that, you have matched that and exceeded it. And that is so important to know. Does anybody have any questions on like the personal development and why this is a comfort zone? Anybody
Can
seeing
you,
any
can
hands?
you repeat that question?
Did you have your hand up? Pray, did you have your hand up? Your hand still up?
No, I'm so sorry. No. No.
Okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Anyone else? Okay. Well, for me personally, it gets, like I said, it gets to hear sound. I want to make sure that I didn't miss any. For me personally, why personal development is a comfort zone, because you meet people all the time and you're like, oh gosh, if I could just 48 laws of power, or if I could just give them, you know, prayer, if I could just give them meditation, or Deepak Chopra's like 7 spiritual laws, or any of these things on success, because you see people that say things like, I'm not successful and I don't know why, or everything's working out, I guess, or literally they've gotten to this personal development area and they're supposedly, if you define success this way, making money and having a big house and the fast car and all those things, but they don't seem to be happy. And chances are it's because they didn't answer very basic questions of who they were when they started, what they actually wanted to be, and why they wanted to improve. So they never got to a space of self-actualization. And you always want to try and get to that, because the human spirit, this what nextness. I accomplished that. What next? I've done this. What next? It's body is feeling off of this adrenaline and the accomplishment, and the hormones make your brain feel good when you've accomplished something and you finish something. So these are all very important reasons, but you have to know who you are in the beginning to get to who you are, who you're going to be, and your why. The next one is super important too, relationships. Because how do we get comfortable in relationships? As I talked about, I always talk to people. I find that I have the most conversation right here, because people don't think about, as you can see, some of the pictures that I've used, personal relationships with family, relationships with parents, relationships with coworkers, relationships, mothers, sisters, brothers, uncles, dads, fathers, all of those. Because we respond to people by the things that we're triggered by. And so after a while, it just becomes natural to snap at that person, natural to ignore them, natural to not acknowledge, natural to sometimes not be loving or listen. And so we have to ask ourselves several questions. Uh-oh. One of the first questions you ask is, where are you in that relationship? Committed and right there? Are you happy out the door? When it comes to, particularly work relationships, it's like, I'm here, but I'm only as loyal as my next paycheck. And the next job that I find, I'm out, I'm gone. Or this relationship is not working out, so I'm going to be looking while I'm still here to make sure that my next step. Because if you're doing that, you're not committed. And so now you're comfortable with however you respond, even if it's not the most positive, the most mutually beneficial or positive response to that phase. You have to think about who you are in that relationship. Are you a provider? Are you a receiver? Are you a giver? Are you a supporter? Has that role become too overwhelming for you? Why has it become too overwhelming for you? Write these things down so that when you get there, you know why you say this is not working for me, and you have a base to communicate, talk from. Of course, what is your impact in that relationship? When you're talking about impact, I'm talking about the things you say, things you say, the words you come out of your mouth, the things you do or don't do. All of that has an impact to your personal and professional relationships. So, for example, going into work or not going into work on a really important day, being a supporter. When somebody is expecting you to show up at a play or a recital, paying for something or not paying for something, listening. What is your impact in this relationship, and knowing that you can move forward. And then, of course, how it impacts you. How is the relationship, be it family, be it personal, be it professional, impacting you? Yes, if it's work, yes, they're paying you, but are you waking up on Monday mornings with anxiety because you have to go to a meeting where you're going to be railed at all day? So and how that impacts your self-esteem, how that impacts your stress levels, how that impacts your health. These are all things that you need to think about when you're thinking about the allowing into your comfort zones and really wanting to disrupt them. Does anybody have any questions about this?
No, it doesn't.
So
It doesn't appear.
well, I'm sure there were some shaking some heads on this one, because you've probably thought about the last conversation you had with your spouse, or the last conversation you even had with yourself. Because believe it or not, you're in a relationship with yourself. How you talk to yourself, the things you do to yourself, how you mind speak to yourself and having conversations. Because a lot of times people find that they spiral because they're talking so negatively to themselves. So you have to think about what's your impact by your negative talk to your psyche, and how it's impacting you in your everyday life. And this is something I can completely relate to. I've totally had to shut my own self down, now listen, we're not going to do that, and just get myself back on it, get myself back on track, because no one's perfect at this stuff. This is an ever evolving, ever working situation. Okay. Now let's talk about work. And I usually leave work at the end because yes, work is important. Work is purpose, but it's one of the places where we get the biggest comfort zones as well. So you have what you do. I believe it was Feng Tran said, being secure and confident because you do this thing all the time. And if you have a job, like for example, I'm decent at public speaking, but but I can sell anybody, or as my mom would say, I can sell I can sell an igloo in Alaska. I don't know why she says that. Sometimes she does, but it is what it is. I will say to her, I rebuke that. But sometimes it's what you do. You do it so well, and because you get so much praise and accolades for it, you don't want to change what you do, because you're not going to get that anymore, because you'll be doing something else, something fresh, something that you're not as secure, not as confident at. Of course, how you do it as well. You do it because, as Maya Angelou would say, doing it with some style, some passion, some compassion, you know. And so you get to a point where you're very comfortable with that. And if you don't try anything new at work, a lot of people find that it's when they try different things and their bosses see how they work when they're uncomfortable, their grace under fire. You know, how you remanaging a situation that has not gone well? How are you handling that mindset? Are you keeping the other people around you balanced, or are they having, you know, negative thought processes because here you are with them? Of course, why you do it that way? Because you'd be surprised, but your routines really dictate why you do things the way you do. So we're about to leave all of the reasons why. So, what is the problem?
Just that you get comfortable, and you don't. If things are comfortable, then there's no reason to change. Hold on, Fatima has her hand up.
Go ahead.
Fatima?
I was thinking the same thing, that sometimes when you get so comfortable, you can get so comfortable where the process is so easy and so second nature that you may not even think to do anything different or to change things or to improve. And I have recognized that with work. Sometimes you get so comfortable because you know how to do the job that it becomes so easy that it's you don't even really consider uh growth because you're so comfortable
Autopilot.
that it may not even occur to you sometimes.
Yeah, you're too comfortable. You're on autopilot. You know, it's just like when people feel like, you know, they're now adult children. Now they feel like they can talk to their parents any kind of way, and their parents like, no, wait a minute. You know, you get to this space where you just get way too comfortable, and so so much so that now you're slipping. You know what I'm saying? You've done it so well, you've managed it or whatever else, that sometimes you get cocky with it or arrogant with it, and now you're slipping. So these are the things that we have to think about. Comfort zones are too comfortable, and that's why we can't be in them. So in your for your first activity, and you'll see this on your page that says think and feel on the worksheet. It's what are you willing to do? I'm asking a question here of what are you willing to do to get the life that you want? But you also have these boxes. I don't know if I could show them to you here. I don't know if you can see them or if you're seeing shiny light bounce off. But they look at these areas in your life, these 7 areas in your life, and start jotting down things that you know you've gotten way too comfortable with, right? And I've also added extra boxes because life, you know, because just because life, because maybe that box you need that for a person. You write down that person and say, I have gotten too comfortable in these spaces with this person. For one of them, for me, was, you know, maybe mom or advisor or partner or whatever else, and just writing down, okay, these are the ways I've gotten a little bit too comfortable. Okay. So we're running out of time, and I want to go ahead and keep going on how to disrupt your life. So let's start disrupting your comfort zone, or what comfort disruption actually is. It's the ability to recognize that your comfort zone is costing you the life that you want. You are so comfortable that you are not growing. You are on autopilot. You have automated a lot of things in your life. You don't even check your email anymore because your email's on your phone. You don't have to remember a password. You know, those kinds of things, right? You have to build awareness, because awareness is tools to disrupt comfort zones that are disabling your life, or I should say more so enabling your life. It's disabling you by enabling you. You know, it's not allowing you to challenge yourself, because so literally it's disabled that motivation to grow and do more. Comfort can be the success and a friend of entitlement. When we comfortable things, success levels are definitions change. They're not the same anymore. But also, you become a friend. You get, yeah, I'm doing my presentation from here. I'm not here present with you. I'm back here going, yeah, you know what this comfort zone thing is. Let's just go ahead and do that. No, we're not that. You want to embrace disruption for personal growth. And we've seen disruption or a positive business level of disruption in business. And you want to embrace that for your personal growth to keep growing, to keep knowing that you are here, you are alive, you are growing, you are evolving. And of course, do not be fearful of disruption, because when you're fearful of disruption, you will stagnate yourself. So, in thinking about personal to professional, what is disruptive? People have heard of it, because actually you have. I shouldn't say I hope. I know you have. You probably have just never seen it called disruption innovation. Because if you've ever used an Uber, if you've ever used an Airbnb, if you have ever bought tickets online, if you listen to music on Amazon or Pandora instead of the radio, you've heard of it, disruptive innovation. It's an innovation that creates a new market and value network of the existing market, displacing established products. In other words, it disrupts what you're already doing to make something better. So, was by a Harvard professor named Clayton Christensen. He actually utilized it for businesses. So basically, taxi cabs were just not the thing. Nobody wanted to catch taxis. They were too, cold and disrupted. They were too cold and, they didn't come on time, or you probably couldn't catch one. So two people came together and said, you know what? People need to pay their car payments, and they're going the same place. So why don't we pay people to utilize their own cars to take people wherever they want to go? Hence Uber. Or hotels are super expensive, and people have extra rooms in their house, and they're willing to. There are some actually really cool people out there who live in really cool spaces who are willing to rent out a room in their house or rent out their entire house. And so you have Airbnb. And in this sense of, I really want to do this thing. I really want to jump out of an airplane, but I'm, usually when I'm on an airplane, I'm going one place to another. Let me figure out how to get on an airplane and actually do this, because I'm an adrenaline junkie and I've just been sitting and not having that adrenaline for myself. So literally turning disruptive innovation into personal disruption. Let's talk about that. Does anybody have any questions right now before I go into this?
No, ma'am.
So, 4 stages of disruption. And you will see this on your page, personal disruption phases. So, disruption, you have a major event, something that's going to put you in denial. You have, whether it's, let me go with business first. For disruption innovation, the major event, people weren't booking hotels and they weren't going anywhere because they can't afford hotels. And so that was the major event. So the whole were like, oh, they don't have anywhere else to go, so they're going to book a hotel if they want to come here, or they just won't come. And someone says, wait a minute, the evolution of, wait a minute, this is not fair. I want to go, but I should have other options as to not do that. And you know what? Other options can be out there. So they're developing new beliefs about this. So now they start to redefine and convergence of what that means. They come up with that idea. They come up with that innovation of, you know what? Other people want to make money too. Other people want to rent out their spaces too. They live in the middle of Paris. They live in the middle of Cape Town, South Africa. They live in the middle of Phuket Sound in Thailand. They live in downtown Sydney, Australia, and they're willing to have a stranger come and stay with them. You know what? Let's find this, test this. And then what they did was they found stability, because now they found, okay, we have people all over the world who have really cool spaces who wouldn't mind for someone to come stay with them. And they charge money for it, and they might meet some cool people from all around the world. Do that. And now they realize that they have an idea that is stable. And so now you have a reimagination. But by the time an Airbnb or a Uber space has now changed, you realize now the older dinosaur kind of spaces of thinking are like, oh crap, these things are changing and we can't catch up. So now you have this reimagination, which rebuilds the structure as we knew it. Because really and truthfully, you have a whole generation of people who all they did was stay at hotels, who now they won't stay at a hotel if you paid them, unless it's like a resort of some sort. And so now they've restructured their thinking, they've restructured all of these things. Let's look at how disruption innovation can become personal innovation. Personal disruption. You've got the same type of phases. You've got a major event of awareness. This situation, this relationship is not working. I don't like the way that I think about myself. And pick any of 7 areas. I don't like how I respond in situations that are stressful, emotional intelligence. I don't like that I work 9 to 5, lifestyle design. I don't like my job portion, work. This relationship is not working, all of these things. So now you have these major events of awareness and possible behavior. So now, let's say your partner says, you always shoot everything I have to say. You're like, I don't do that. That's you saying that you don't do. When you may not all the time, but it's enough for them to point it out. You move into evolution where change begins. Because maybe now your awareness has made you aware of this job, the things that are happening. I don't like the relationship, or I love my partner, but I keep doing these particular things. How do I make this changes? And I don't have to be the person that I am in this situation. And how do I make that change? How do I curve this? I always compare it to yachts and small boats. I think they used to call them dinghies. And you can curve a dinghy real quick. You can make that big turn. Sometimes when it comes to our personalities, it feels like you're trying to turn around a cruise ship. You've got to plan for that curve, right? But these major events of awareness make it so that you may not always have a chance to make that curve. And so change begins because that's where the evolution begins. Let me say this, evolution can be painful. It can be very painful. So then you get to this place of this convergence, this normal, right? Where you're implementing new habits into your life. Because now that a moment of awareness happened, it was that change, the possible denial of those behaviors. You're trying to curve that, you're trying to turn that yacht around, and now you gotta start implementing new behaviors really quickly. And then you start reimagining, rebuilding yourself to who you, starting from where you are, thinking about where you want to be, and how to improve that. So where you start restructuring life. I'll give you this example for a personal disruption. Major event of awareness. We're going to be stuck in the house for God knows how long. There's an outbreak in the world. Possible denial behaviors. I mean, it's cool. I could work from home. I'm used to being home anyway. Or oh Lord, now your kids are like, Mom, you do not know how to do math, or Dad, you do not know how to do social studies, or Dad, you don't understand science or the new math that we're doing. You're like, oh yeah, I do. It's like the math from 1983. You just saw a math problem. You're like, I don't know what this is. And so now it's like, oh, now I've got to think about changes. I've got to evolve, because now I'm not just a mom and a wife or a husband and a spouse and a whatever else. I'm now a teacher. I'm now a cook. I'm now a scheduler. And you probably were all of these things before, but but throughout the day you were able to compartmentalize. Well, now you can't compartmentalize. It's almost like you're all of those things all the time, all at once. And so now you have new beliefs about yourself, you know, possibly empower you to make these changes. Especially the new belief of knowing that I can have it all, just not all at the same time. I can't do it all at the same time. So, then you converge on this new normal. Like Erica said, we're now in these 30 days where you've been a teacher, or you've kept your own company by yourself for a long time, or you're living with family and trying to figure out how to get who you are in this space when you're all together all the time with no other options other than to go possibly for a walk. And so you start implementing these new habits into your life so that you can, really make these changes. And then you start to rebuild yourself, you know. Make sure that you start to write these things down and keep these things together. So let's get past in the word in the piece where it says personal disruption story. Do you have one? I hope that you're able to use it. It says, do something you'd like to change. Use the space below to describe a disruption, the evolution, the convergence, and reimagination. And then meet someone new and share. I hope that either someone in your personal space who you can share with, but I know we're not going to have that opportunity here. And here's a question for a lot of people that I hope that you can write down. I'll give you a couple of seconds. What are the tell ourselves to stay in our comfort zones? Because believe it or not, the natural thing in itself, and it is working to keep in a comfort zone. Like for example, yeah, my job is cool. The job, the pay is great. Even though I'm not necessarily happy, it's okay because it just gets me by. Or, you know what? I don't need to go for that walk today. The sun comes out every day. It'll be fine. It'll be there tomorrow. When chances are your body and your mindset probably really needs that walk to refresh yourself and reset a bit. These are all of the kinds of thought processes that happen. While I'm giving seconds, does anybody have any questions or any response or anything they'd like to say?
If someone, excuse me, in doing the exercise, if someone wanted to follow up with you, would that be okay? Should they just email you?
That's more than fine. Yes. Remember that they can reach me at Hey, Hey, and it'll be up again at thenacbrand.com. Okay. So, in moving forward, I put up Let's Do the Work. These are actually the last 3-4 pages work now. I give you 3 pages because there's usually the one that I have people do in class, and then of course take other stuff to do further. I let people write down because I believe that when you write things out, when you get it out of your head onto paper or verbally recording it, that you put it into the universe. So you literally taken this example of the page and said, here's a disruption. The moment of awareness occurred when I felt, did this or fell down or, slipped up or said something, inappropriate or whatever it is. Or I felt embarrassed about. I gave prompts for these beginnings. Like the moment of awareness occurred when I felt embarrassed about. At first, I denied that this was a regular behavior for me because really addressing the thing that needs to be disrupted, right? Then I move over to the left, sorry, to evolution of my why. I need to make healthy changes. My how. I will slowly remove X from my life because here's the thing. People think it's like a band-aid, I'm going to take this thing out right now. Remember that comfort zones are habits. They are. So, and then tell you that it takes 21 days to create a healthier habit. So know that it's going to go very quickly. It's going to have to work work on like you work on anything else. And of course, what lifestyle breakdowns. And when I put here lifestyle breakdowns is because this thing in my life, these are things that I'm unable to do when I say lifestyle breakdowns. And then of course, I write down the first steps. I move to conclusions, and I say normal for me looks like a regular check-in with. This is the part where I add in an accountability partner. Because a lot of times when we're doing things on our own, we can say, yeah, okay, well, I said that, but I'll do that next week. Whereas if you have a friend saying, hey, did you do this thing? Because you know that they're going to call you. Accountability partners are some of the most magical things and beings and people you can ask for in your life. This plan with my accountability partner and a deadline of, because I love deadlines, I give myself deadlines because I'm towards something and it helps me self-actualize. And then this will change the way I shop, and or this will change the way I work, or this will change the way I think. And so just giving you these types of prompts, and then the reimagination as you build yourself, as you rebuild yourself. I want to add to these changes. I want to add to this change because what usually happens in the reimagination stage is you've reached a milestone and now you're excited. I've changed this. I'm not doing this. How do I keep my positive habit going? So I want to add to this change by adding this, or this disruption leads to other disruptions, because that's what usually happens even in business. One disruption led to another. In fact, my last business before all this happened, I booked my ticket on some online thing instead of going to a website. I which then the plane flew me into the city to take me to my Airbnb, which the Uber then took me to my Airbnb. Because so a lot of different innovations in your life lead from one to another. And I can talk about this because I've definitely had to do this in my life. I'm never going to say that they're easy. I'm never going to say that they're painless, but I can say that because of them, my lifestyle has changed. And this has been the most positive for me. So, we've said awareness leads to utilization of tools for disrupt comfort that is disabling your life. Write it out. You have access to the worksheet. Hopefully you downloaded it. Lay out your plan. Plan, plot, execute. And of course, look at it every day. Put it someplace. Don't put it in a folder somewhere on a desk where it can get covered. Put it someplace where you have to see it, because then you have to remember that you put it together for yourself. And then say it out loud. Speak it into existence, into the universe, into the world. Pray about it. Meditate about it. All the things that help you keep yourself focused. So, I've said 8 different things today. And we're well past our time. But I really enjoyed doing that. And I'm going to exit out of this and come back to the workshop. Oh, there we go. And stop sharing my screen. Oh, I haven't lost anybody. I'm kind of happy about that. I'd love to hear some of your thought processes about some of the things that you've heard today and how it's going to help you.
If you guys just raise your hand, I can unmute you. If anyone has anything to comment. Okay, Ms. Fatima?
Yeah, well, for me, I feel like I've kind of started moving out of my comfort zone a little bit, even especially getting into the launch program. Because one of the things I really want is mentoring and, to work with someone with my professional and personal development. So I think this is, I feel like I'm moving in the right direction. But still, as you start breaking down barriers and learning things, sometimes it could be a little scary. And it's not scary finding things out, it's just scary moving and working with things and wondering if it's going to work or not. So I'm just
So,
being a little real and a little open right now. So
congratulations. That's you entering this, disruption, a personal disruption. Because just because you do it, that doesn't mean that it may work out. That's the beauty, and that's the scary and the beauty of disrupting your comfort zones. There's no guarantee that it's actually going to work out. But the fact is, you know, I read a lot of end of life type of workshops just because of the kind of research that I do. And one of the things people always say is they don't regret, even when they fail, they don't regret that they tried, because if they didn't try, they wouldn't know.
Absolutely.
I, I understand that. Because that makes me think a little bit back to I don't know if some of the other attendees would kind of get the like Dr. Wayne Dyer, and they're like the old school guys from the Carnegie Mellon series, and they would talk. The word wasn't disruptors back then, but it was something else. But it was just trying to change, and sometimes change um, it's uncomfortable. Sometimes it's not always comfortable, and sometimes what I'm learning is whew, you got to try to trust others and be willing to be led. Like I think somebody earlier said, it could have been Prey, where she was saying control. And when you're not controlling, because I've always been willing to learn, but when you start going into realms that you may know a little bit about, but you're not so familiar with, where you can really, start steering the boat yourself. Sometimes it's just a little, it's not even shaky, it's just a little scary, because sometimes you may not know what to expect. And you have to kind of completely relinquish your control, or your desire to want to control something, and be willing to be molded like all over again.
Yes, all of those things. Eric, did you hear she went that woo change?
Hmm.
You know, it's painful. Um, so I
If it
just
was
want to go
easy,
ahead and wrap
everybody would
up.
do it.
Listen, for real. Um, well, I thank you, Fatima. I appreciate you for sharing. I am well past my time. I hope that in doing this workshop, it gave you some ideas of how to disrupt your own personal pieces. I hope that you utilize the workbook that you were given. If you have any questions, please email me. I've put my email in the chat area, so that you can reach out to me if you need be. Don't worry, you will see this workshop again, not just live. I'm working on my own learning management system so that I can put these workshops in a space where people can access them and utilize them for their own development. So that if you're in launch and when things open, in a corner somewhere working on either comprehensive PhD dissertation stuff or business stuff. So I know I usually look like I'm deep into whatever I'm doing, but unless you see a sign that basically says "Don't talk to me because I'll talk to you," like please come say hello. Um, and I hope that everybody got something from this. If you have not, please feel free to feedback me to make my workshops better. I really appreciate that. I'm going to turn this back over to Erica.
Thank you, Tia. Thank you again for an amazing session. Again, these are, crazy times. They are. We all know that. And people are dealing with a lot of different issues. And it does not take long to build bad habits. Like Tia said, habits can be good, they can be bad. It doesn't take long to do that. We're going into week 5. Some people are in week 6 of being at home. And I promise you that is just long enough to get into some bad habits. But This is an amazing, amazing time to try to make some changes. So I encourage you to print the workbook out, um, or just look at the workbook in a PDF and get a piece of paper and just write the answers out. It doesn't have to, Tia said this earlier, don't wait for the perfect conditions to try and start something new because life will never be perfect. You would think people have said, oh, if I just had more time, if I just had more time. Well, we're home. There was a stretch where I did not leave the house for 3 solid weeks. Literally, I made myself go to the mailbox. I didn't leave the house for 3 weeks, but I did not have any additional time because of the decisions that I made and where I put that extra time. So the time is there. The 24 hours have not changed. It's what you choose to do with them. This is a great opportunity to take some information that you learned today and try to make some different decisions, or decisions that you want. We're not saying the decisions that you've made are bad, but it's up to you. Again, like Tia was talking about, you have to do that self-reflection and decide where you want to be. Are you where you want to be, and where are you trying to go? How quickly can you get there? So use the resources that have been provided. Um, you've got the PDF. Tia, you don't normally share the slides, do you?
I don't, simply because,
Everything's in the
copyright,
workbook.
etc.
Everything that they need is in the workbook, right? Awesome. So
Everything.
awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Tia, for your time. Of course, big, huge Panther. Round of applause for you. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
We've got one more session this week. On Thursday is the Pantherpreneur panel featuring Ms. Deetra Giles, who is an international speaker. She has presented 2 TED Talks. She's a coach, HR specialist, all things amazing person. And then MK, who is our entrepreneur in residence for the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Institute. All these tongue twisters will be with us on Thursday to answer any questions that you have. Thank you guys for your time. I hope everyone has a great day. Be safe, be well. Go wash those hands. Bye, guys.